So some of the highlights of what's new in Dynamics GP in the October 22 release are being able to print cash receipts, inactivating vendor address IDs, printing the 1099 NEC with the lines, and then Microsoft included some additional customer request functionality. And we're going to walk through each of these very quickly, but I did want to go through the list of what's included in this. So customer requests were making the checkbook balance inquiry window and the register inquiry window easier. So as I'll show you, we're going to populate the top of that inquiry window and then hit redisplay and have our data populate for us. And then looking at our account category lookup and our account segment lookup, transaction level posting through the GL without printing the GL posting journal. And then two of my favorites being able to reprint bank journals and print bank history reports. So with that, we're going to jump into Dynamics GP and take a look at each of these that have made changes this year. So the first one that we're going to take a look at in our Dynamics GP is the being able to print cash receipts. So when we go into sales and we go into transactions and into our cash receipts, and I've got a cash receipt saved here, so I'm just going to bring that up. And within our cash receipt here, now if we go up to print, so we've got two prints here. We have our original print, but this one gives us our cash receipts edit list. And I'm just going to cancel that one. That does clear the page when you select it. So I'm going to go in and reselect my cash receipt. And now our second print option here is going to allow us to print just that cash receipt. So I'm going to uncheck printer and I'm going to just leave screen checked and we're going to print that cash receipt out. And so now if I make this just a touch smaller so you can see it here, then you've got the cash receipt print. So that's something that I think is fantastic. I know that's something that a lot of people have asked for, being able to have that document print when you're collecting data within GP. The next area that we're going to take a look at is the inactivating vendor addresses. So if we go to purchasing and we go into cards and our vendor addresses, then I'm going to bring up an address and I'm going to scroll through and just select my first address. And so now you'll see you've got an inactivate button here. So if you go ahead and click on that, the really nice message that comes up here is the address is used on a vendor record. Do you want to continue? So you can say yes to that, and that's going to inactivate this address. It's not going to remove it. It'll just inactivate it, take it out of the list. Or you can go in and say, no, you don't want to continue, and it's going to uncheck the box for you. All right, the next area that we're going to take a look at is printing our 1099s. And so really the key thing here when you print your 1099s is that now you can print that 1099 document with the lines on it. I'm going to go quickly into the update 1099 information page. And so this is really where you're going to go in and define what 1099 information you need to have included there is and generate those 1099s. So we've got our update 1099 information here where we can go in and choose our vendor, our 1099 transactions, or vendor and 1099 transactions. And then when you're actually ready to print those, now you're going to go into routines and choose print 1099. And this is where you can go in and assign that. And now when you print the forms, the 1099-NEC is going to print with the lines on it. Just as a reminder on that, all of that detail for your printing of 1099s comes from that 1099 details window. So this is where if you bring up a particular vendor, you can see the 1099 information that's collected over the year, as long as that vendor is identified as a 1099 vendor. And on the transaction, there's a dollar amount that's hit that 1099 eligible field. So you can have a payables transaction, which maybe we'll just take a quick look at that. So when you look at a payables transaction in transaction entry here, if your vendor is identified as a 1099 vendor, you can populate this 1099 amount field. If your transaction, say, is partially 1099 eligible, you would have your full purchase amount here, which would go to your own account. But then you could identify the $1099 on that transaction that are actually eligible. And then that's going to flow to that 1099 details page. All right, the next information that we're going to look at is the customer requests. So the first one that we're going to take a look at here is the checkbook balance inquiry and the checkbook register inquiry. So I'm going to open up my inquiry page here, and we're going to go down and look at our checkbook register. And so what happens here is, as long as you select a checkbook, and if you wanted to fill out any other restrictions here, you could do that, but then just click on redisplay. And based on what's set up in the header here, that's what's going to populate down below. You can do that same functionality in the checkbook balance. So same thing here. You're going to select your checkbook ID. You're going to fill in any of the header information. So if there's a particular range of dates that you want to see, if you want to sort by date, if you want to sort by number, payment, or deposit, and then ascending or descending, and then redisplay. And then your data should populate based on what you've selected. The next area that we're going to take a look at is our account category lookup. So one of the things that Microsoft did is in your cards on your account, and we're going to go to our account, and we're going to bring up an account, and then we're going to click on the category lookup. And so within this window, now you can see view all categories by the category description, and you can also choose then just all categories, and that's going to list those out just by the categories. The other area that you can also take a look at is within the setup area of your accounts of financial. And when we go in and we look at our segments here, when we want to do a lookup, say on division, and we click on the lookup, now we also have the ability here to do some other sorting. So if we want to sort by the number, we can do that, or we could sort by the description if we wanted to. And that's just within the account segment setup. And the next area that we're going to take a look at is the transaction level post through the GL. So what I'm going to have you do here is we're going to go into administration. I'm going to condense system and company, and we're going to take a look at posting. And so when we look at a series post for purchasing and the payables transaction entry origin, then what we can do here is we have the ability now to transaction level post through the GL without actually printing the GL posting journal. That's a big win. And one of the things that I know that a lot of people have been asking for years is being able to do that. The one caution I will make in this window is if you go in this window, if you make any changes and you save out of here, those changes are going to be rolled down. The flip side to that is, and if I just go back to financials and I'm going to leave it as all, if you come in here and you just open this window and save out of here, you will not retain your settings in the setup window. So if you hit save and close out, it's going to reset. So if you had specific settings in here, I just exercise caution coming in here. Make sure that if you're going to make a change, make sure it's the change that you want, and then be cognizant of if you save out of the window, then it's going to save it based on what your selection is here. If you just want to close out, just click on the X in the upper right corner. All right, and the last two areas that we're going to take a quick look at are the being able to reprint the bank reports. So under reports, and I'm just going to open up reports here, and then we're going to go into our bank posting journals, because this is one area that you can now go in and choose to reprint. It's the bank deposit journal, and there's also the additional reports here. So bank transactions journals allows that now. Your adjustments journals, all of these you can now go in and reprint these historically. So click on demo, and I'm going to choose modify. And now you have the ability in your ranges to choose your audit trail, your checkbook ID, and your deposit date. And you can come in and print that. It'll pull all that information related to this. Then we also have the ability to do this same thing within the bank history reports. So under reports, financial, and bank history, now we can come in, again, demo in this case, modify, and now I can go in and choose what my sorting is, whether it's by number or by date. And my ranges. So I can now choose by an audit trail code. I could do a transaction date or type or number, and then be able to reprint those reports.